Think about this for a moment. The way you interpret reality determines the life you live. It's not simply about what happens to you, because what happens to you is unpredictable and in many cases outside of your control. It's about how you choose to interpret those events, how you frame them in your mind, and whether you see them as destructive obstacles or as opportunities for growth. Winners understand this almost intuitively. They don't just stumble into success by avoiding problems. They rise above because they have trained their minds to process reality differently than most. That's the first great secret. You have to think differently. Now, let's break that down. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. Let's say they both fail an important exam, lose a job, or experience rejection from someone they wanted to impress. One person immediately collapses under the weight of that failure. They start telling themselves stories. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. This always happens to me. The other person, though, thinks this hurts, but it's showing me what I don't know yet. It's pointing me toward where I need to get stronger. Notice the difference. The event is the same. The outcome, whether this becomes a breaking point or a turning point, is shaped entirely by mindset. What you believe about setbacks shapes whether you stop or keep moving forward. Winners have trained themselves to filter every obstacle through the lens of growth. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this pain to sharpen my edge? How can I turn this into something constructive? That's not denial. It's not pretending failure is enjoyable. It's the choice to face difficulty without letting it poison the belief in a better future. This is where so many people get it wrong. They assume winners don't feel pain, don't doubt themselves, don't get discouraged. That's not true at all. Winners feel the sting of failure as much as anyone else. But here's the difference. They don't stop there. They carry the pain differently. Instead of letting it paralyze them, they let it energize them. It becomes fuel, not a weight. That single shift in perception, seeing failure as feedback rather than a final judgment, makes all the difference. You see, thinking like a winner requires you to question the narrative you've built about yourself. Most people live inside a prison of self-limiting stories. They say things like, I'm just not talented enough, I've never been lucky, people like me don't succeed. Those thoughts are chains. Winners break those chains by deliberately rewriting their internal script. They tell themselves, maybe I'm not there yet, but I can learn. Maybe I don't have the advantage now, but I can build it. Maybe I've failed, but I can rise again. This mindset does not erase difficulty, but it allows you to face it without giving up your agency. This is crucial. If you don't see the possibility of change, you won't even try. Winners understand that life is a negotiation between chaos and order. Chaos is everything you don't know, everything that blindsides you, everything painful and unpredictable. Order is structure, clarity, predictability. If you can train your mind to step into chaos willingly, to see it as a space where new skills are forged, you start to grow. That's why winners don't shy away from discomfort. They embrace it. They know the chaos is where transformation happens. Now, think about the opposite mindset. If you approach every difficulty as proof that you're doomed, you create a downward spiral. Every failure reinforces the idea that you're worthless, and you become smaller, more fragile, more easily broken. But if you look at those same events as tests, as preparation, as challenges that carve out resilience, then you grow stronger, more capable, more dangerous. In the best possible sense of the word. That's why two people can go through the same hardship and emerge with completely different outcomes. One is crushed, the other is reborn, but there's another layer here. Winners don't only think differently about failure, they think differently about success too. For most people, success is a destination. They think, once I have the promotion, once I make this amount of money, once people recognize me, then I'll be successful. Winners don't think that way. For them, success is not a fixed endpoint. It's a continual process of becoming. That's why they're never satisfied with mediocrity. They're always pushing, not because they hate themselves, but because they know they're capable of more, and that belief, that hunger, keeps them moving when most people get complacent. Now, if thinking differently is the foundation, what keeps it alive is discipline, and this is where most people falter. They want motivation to carry them, as if motivation is this magical energy source that will keep burning forever. But motivation is fickle. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days you can barely drag yourself out of bed. If your entire life strategy is built on being motivated, you will fail. Because when motivation disappears, and it always does, you'll stop. Winners know this. That's why they rely on discipline, not motivation. Discipline is the structure you build around your life to make progress inevitable. It's the decision to act regardless of how you feel. That's what separates the dreamers from the achievers. Winners don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't say, "I'll start when I feel ready." They start now, even if it's ugly, even if it's difficult, even if they don't feel like it. Because they know something fundamental. Action produces momentum, and momentum sustains progress far better than emotion ever could. Think about your daily life. How many times have you promised yourself you'd start tomorrow? Tomorrow I'll exercise, tomorrow I'll study, tomorrow I'll focus on my goals, and then tomorrow comes and the excuses show up. Motivation failed you again. Winners don't play that game. They create rituals, routines, systems that remove the need for constant willpower. They say, "This is just what I do." Like brushing your teeth, like going to work, it's automatic. That's discipline. Discipline also has another function. It builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you prove to your subconscious that you can be relied on. That builds confidence in a way no motivational speech ever could. It's experiential. It's real. You become someone who does what they say they'll do. That self-trust becomes a reservoir of strength you can draw from when life gets harder. But here's the paradox. Discipline often feels restrictive at first, but in reality, it's the most liberating force you can develop. Without discipline, you are a slave to your moods, to your impulses, to the whims of the moment. With discipline, you gain freedom. The freedom to shape your life deliberately instead of drifting aimlessly. Winners understand this. They know that short-term sacrifice builds long-term power. Let's bring this together. Winners think differently about challenges, and they act differently because they are disciplined. They don't wait for the perfect mindset to appear. They cultivate it by doing the work, day in and day out, regardless of how they feel. And that consistency creates a compounding effect over time. One disciplined day might not change much, but string together 100, 1,000 disciplined days, and you transform into a completely different person. Someone capable of achieving what once felt impossible.